Hey, what's up, guys? Lou here, and right now I'm going to try something a little different. Instead of talking about whatever's going on in the world today, right now I'm going to narrate a little story that was penned by a good friend of mine, Gian Person. I've showed his artwork many times over my YouTube page, and yeah, he came up with this, and it's awesome, and I'm going to incorporate into my love of the Romans and the Byzantines. How? I'm going to make this centered around one of my favorite Byzantine emperors, Basil II, the Bulgar Slayer. Yes, that was his nickname. A quick backstory for those who don't know. Think of the Byzantines as Rome the sequel, pretty much. They were a continuation of that empire. Fast forward, 10th century, they had a really magnificent emperor named Basil II, who was, just phenomenal. He kind of kicked ass and, took names. He went on to conquer parts of Armenia, Georgia, Bulgaria, um, parts of the Middle East, and, even retain a foothold in southern Italy. So this story, obviously, it's, not going to be, based upon him, but I figure I could use him as like a catalyst to make the story flow better. Especially I don't want to keep it some nameless emperor here. I wanted to paint you guys an image of what the story's about and or who it can be about. And you fill in the rest. The reason why I picked Basil II to kind of carry the story along. When you hear it, you're going to picture this guy. Um, he was just a really great, general, soldier, emperor. Like I said, he took the main stage and brought back, made the Byzantines great again, pretty much. Sadly, he, didn't have produce an heir to succeed him. His brother kind of took the role of that, but, it just wasn't as good. And a lot of his doings became undone, and so on and so forth. There's one story I won't get into, but let's just say he scared a king, the king of Bulgaria. It's one of the reasons why he got his names, the Bulgar Slayer. But I mean, there's another story that's really cool. But I'll let you guys dive into that one in case you're interested. Scared this guy so much, gave him a heart attack. Not sure if it's just exaggerated story, but hey, that sounds good. So yeah, without further ado, here is the story, and you'll get the title as the story progresses. It's called Sweet Tat, Bro. Alright, here it goes. 10th century Byzantium. He was the emperor of his lands. He ruled with a might that had been unparalleled. His method of ruling were unseen until that point. Powerful and stern, yet compassionate and intuitive. A unique character since his birth, it was clear to all who crossed his path that he was special. Having rose through the ranks and gained control of his homeland, he aimed to leave a mark that would outlast time itself. Surrounding his lands were tribes of various cultural practices, some of whom would practice so-called magic and forms of metaphysical manipulation. Their ways of life had been condemned by previous rulers, deemed sacrilegious and mere superstitious. The emperor knew that there was more to the physical world and beyond than had been preached to his people for generations. He understood that the surrounding tribes possessed knowledge that would otherwise be lost in the muck and fade with time. He knew of tales and myths about these tribes, but only interacted with them as one would with pests intruding a home. When opportunity came to intimately interact with some of them, the emperor did not hesitate to take full advantage. For his whole life, he saw his predecessors' attempts at longevity and legacy somewhat trivial. Statues, paintings, monuments, all were ultimately worthless, forms of vanity in the king's eyes. He had destroyed countless forms of these, and his conquest understood he wasn't above such an outcome. His reign and his empire meant everything to him, and he was determined to make it everlasting, somehow, some way. Former rulers had forbidden interacting with other tribes. The emperor, however, knew they had knowledge that could be of value to him. He just knew. And when he and his troops made contact with them, he extended the proverbial olive branch. He expressed his wish to learn of ways to exist beyond the flesh, so that the empire would not die with him or his people. The first tribes spoke of only ancient myths, but no tangible techniques that could accomplish his goals. They seemed to be mostly witch doctors of sorts. One elder in particular spoke of a tribe deep in the wilderness that could be of use, but warned that their powers were beyond even his comprehension. The emperor was intrigued and sought out to find them. Upon their discovery, the emperor immediately managed himself and their good graces. As he spoke with the tribe elders and learned more about their capabilities, he was certain they had the answers he was looking for. The elders spoke of spells that could allow control of a man's very essence, his spirit. The emperor wanted to know more. The elders explained that these forms of magic could sometimes be unpredictable and behave in unexpected ways. This was no matter to the emperor. If it meant he and the empire would never perish, he was willing. Ironically, the spell involving imbuing an object with the caster's essence. Thus, the emperor's legacy would live on through materials just as his predecessors, with their paintings and such. The emperor contemplated this and decided to go through with it. He devised a scenario where a grand statue would be made in his image and would contain his spirit for the following generations to interact with. The day came and the statue was completed. The emperor was accompanied by a representative from the outer tribes, whom would perform the final spell. There was the unveiling. There was the spell ritual. The emperor said the phrases to seal the spell. My image, my essence. Suddenly, as the ritual came to an end, and the spectators prepared to celebrate the day's triumph, the emperor dropped dead. The empire was stunned, and left seeking answers, but just like that, the end of an empire had begun. Or had it? It was the end of Act 1. Now begins Act 2. The setting, 21st century, Philadelphia, PA. The Big 3-0. Anthony couldn't contain his excitement about his 30th birthday. Aside from getting blackout drunk, he was also looking forward to adding another tattoo to his collection. Anthony was such a history freak that he began getting tattoos of the historical leaders he admired most. After this tattoo, he had a full sleeve complete. And what a leader to choose as the final puzzle piece. The Emperor, Basil II, had fascinated Anthony for so long. A guy who led his empire to unfathomable success before abruptly, mysteriously passing. His name and memory were so highly regarded among those who knew it. However, he existed so long ago that his story was far from mainstream knowledge. The day came, and Anthony was more than ready to head to the tattoo parlor. His artist, Xander, had to be the best ever. The previous work done was top-notch and always attracted comments. Anthony knew that he would do this new piece justice. Xander was in his zone. He never failed to impress, but today he was outdoing himself. The image had so much life in it, it was almost eerie. When the tattoo was completed, both the artist and the recipient were both satisfied. Beyond satisfied. Anthony continued his day with so much enthusiasm. Awaiting him in the evening was a gathering of friends and family, as well as near lethal amounts of alcohol. As the sun began to set, Anthony started preparing himself to leave. As he exited the shower, he admired his new piece of art. In the mirror, he could hardly believe that it was hand-drawn. It was so lifelike. In fact, incredibly lifelike, that it felt like it could speak. Anthony was looking into the eyes of the Emperor's image through the foggy bathroom mirror. Why was he so fixated? He began to feel a bit strained, as if energy was being drained from his body. Still, he couldn't break eye contact with the figure on his arm. He was feeling weaker by the second. Before he knew it, the world faded to black, with his last visual being the piercing gaze of the Emperor. Anthony had no idea how much time had passed, but he knew he went out. He had no idea why either. He was dazed and confused. He gathered himself from the bathroom floor and surveyed his immediate surroundings. Everything seemed to be in place, so what happened? He turned to check himself in the mirror. The blood drained from his face. His heart sank into his chest. Along with his own ghastly reflection was the writing on the foggy mirror. It read, "My image, my essence." In a panic fury, he ran out of his house, the image of the tattoo on his arm, swelling, burning, giving a fiery sensation to the rest of his body. The only thing on his mind was to find a way to settle this overwhelming sensation of energy coursing through his veins. His vision blurred. His body weakened with every step. He reaches an overpass, a bridge. Being able to keep his balance, he collapses, falls over the bridge, into a watery grave. But, just as fate would have it, at that very moment, a young woman, also from a night out, was there. What she was doing at that moment, possibly on the verge of committing suicide. But something caught her attention. Anthony, collapsing over the bridge, falling to his death, changed her mind. She thought to herself, maybe this was a second chance. Without hesitation, dived in after the young man. It didn't take her long to find Anthony and drag him to shore. As Anthony slowly came to, staring into the eyes of his savior, the young woman asked, "Who are you?" The only words he could muster out was his first name, Anthony. The name Anthony seemed so foreign at this point. The words that spelled Basil were burnt behind his eyes. The young woman introduced herself as Irina, and as they sat there for a moment, he concluded they both would be part of a journey full of adventure and danger, and so much more. All this leading up to the second coming of a great emperor, whose image and essence will now live on once again. The end. Or is it? Alright guys, well that's the end of my short story. That was me narrating it. Everything you heard with a few changes here and there was all penned by my good friend Gian Person, and narrated by yours truly here, Lou. I hope you liked it. I hope to do more of these. I got another one in the works. Kind of a similar story, just more of a darker edge to it. And yeah, let me know what you think. As always, it was nice talking to you guys. And until next time, peace.